Hereby declare the Candiac County Board of Commissioners is now in session. Will you all please stand as we say the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all here. I also like to welcome people who may be streaming the meeting this morning, as well as people watching this later on YouTube. I appreciate your interest in Candiac County government. For the record, today's date is July 5th, 2022. And our first agenda item is our consent agenda. We have three things on there. As usual, we have the minutes, the warrants, and the claims. And then we also, this time, we have a gambling permit request. And I believe this is an annual request from the Prairie Woods Learning
Correct.
Center. Okay. If there's no questions or comments, or you don't want to poll anything, I'd entertain a
I
motion
will
to
move
approve.
that we adopt the consent agenda.
A motion by Commissioner Nissen
And I'll second
and
that.
a second by Commissioner Anderson. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Now I'd like to call on Candiac County Auditor Treasurer, Mr. Thompson. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners and Mr. Chairman. I came to the board about a month ago, I guess, 2 board meetings ago, and on June 7th, and was asking the board if they would approve a land sale. It's, Larry, if you want to put that.
Put that up there?
Sure, we'll show you where it is. The county owned a lot,
I'm gonna zoom in, marking.
okay?
We got the map here, too.
The county owned a lot
There you go.
east of Eagle Lake, and that lot was parcel ID 18-492-0035. We published a notice in the West Central Tribune. We published it 3 times, Wednesday, June 15th, Wednesday, June 22nd, and Wednesday, June 29th. It was we published a notice of sale of surplus land. We also published it one time in the Lakes Area Review on June 20th. So we've gotten, again, here's the parcel. Like I said, Eagle Lake, it's just east of Eagle Lake. I believe that's 27, County Road 27 going to Diamond Lake is just north of it. Anyway, we got one bid.
6.
Huh?
County Road 26?
County Road 26, okay. We got one bid, and I'll open that bid now unless the commissioners have any questions.
Any questions?
No questions.
Okay.
Please proceed. Looks like it's sealed pretty good.
Sealed pretty good, yeah. The bid came from, the bidder was Melissa K. Danielson, 6483 Highway 71 South, Wilmer. And the bid was received on July 1st. And she has her 5% cashier's check with. Okay, again, Melissa Danielson, her bid is $40,000. And as I mentioned, there is a cashier's check for $2,000. Again, it's parcel ID 18-492-0035.
Mr. Chair, I'd move on accepting the bid for the land sale.
Commissioner Amdek made a motion to accept the bid. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Gardner. Any further questions or comments?
Mark, that's more than than what the minimum bid was, correct?
Yes.
Which was about 30-something?
It was less than that. It was in the 20s.
26-4, I believe.
26.4, yes, okay.
All right.
Yep.
Any further
you.
questions or comments from any commissioners? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you very much, Mr.
Real good, thank you.
Mr. Chair, so Mr. Thompson's office will work with Ms. Danielson to close it up and get everything taken care of.
Thanks.
At this point, I would like to call, we'll jump a little bit further down on the agenda and call on Mr. Odens and Mr. Kleindahl,
Which one?
the Public Works.
Oh,
Which one? That's next up, right? Yes.
okay.
You're lost.
Eric in here.
Yeah, Eric's not here, so we have to move. Are you ready to go? Otherwise, I can move.
I can get up.
Sure.
So I'll start, Mel, as you're walking up, just so you kind of just, then I'll come up and do my share. Do you want the overhead on?
You know, maybe we should.
So as Mel's getting ready to put that up there, if you recall last year when we were working with the budgets and stuff, what we try to do is look at where we're at with our equipment cost, look at what we need for equipment as we buy. Each year, when they turn in budget items, they give us a list of items that they're going to need for the next 3 to 5 years. And so with the prices of equipment going up, and looking at where we're at with our budget numbers now, I'm recommending that we advance the sale of this equipment and the one in the future. This piece of equipment, and I'll let Mel give more details, but it's on the lot right now, and that doesn't happen. And so instead of waiting, ordering, and we may get it, may not get it, for example, I'll use the landfill compactor. Our landfill compactor, we ordered last fall. We put it in this year's budget. We're hoping to get it by the end of this year to get the budget. Right now, they can't tell us if we're going to get it yet this year. If we, again, we put it in the budget, but it throws the numbers off when it carries over the next calendar year. And so when Mel and I and Todd Miller were talking about this piece of equipment, I just said, you know, we've been doing this. It works well to keep our budget down and the levy down if we can advance some products. And so Mel, why don't you go ahead and tell a little bit about this here piece of equipment?
So, Chair, members of the board, what I have is I've got a picture of it on the screen. What we did do is when Larry and I were talking about this and Todd Miller, we wanted to just get 3 different quotes to just see where we were with the case, or with the Cat, John Deere, and then the Bobcat. Because we thought, well, if this is a possibility that, you know, we can get some of this work done now. So then we got to also asking what's the benefit to the county? And the benefit to the county, so what we did is we went back through old invoices for the last few years, and then we're averaging right about $35,000 a year that we rent out for an excavator, which is this excavator or one of similar size.
Excuse me just a second,
Yep.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
When you say we rent it out to others or we rent from?
I'm sorry, we hire people to do work
Okay.
that we have all the staff capabilities to do.
Got it.
And so, and that doesn't include that's in public works maintenance. That doesn't include anything in the drainage area, in Lauren's area, with ditch work and beaver dams and all these other things. So when we just kind of kept talking, it's like Larry said, we try and do this budget planning and like, how do we deliver the same services for this? As prices go up, how do we still get the same maintenance delivery of services when you have to do it differently? And so this is one thing that we thought, well, maybe we could do it a little differently. Like we just replaced a culvert in a main line up on County Road 68. We could have done this ourselves. We're going to remove the underground tanks at the Public Works garage to meet the NPDS underground tank. We're mandated to get it done before yet this calendar year. Yeah, we're going to rent a backhoe. That's $7,000 day one. And so, we can use it at the landfill for all our retention pond cleanouts. That's not included in the $35,000 that we do just annually.
But that's what got us going, talking. I said, well, why can't you guys do this to clean out? And you just
could.
don't have the equipment, have to rent it. And I said, well, that doesn't make sense.
So anyway, I've got the specs. In fact, I was out there this morning. I do sometimes have good excuses for running a few minutes late. And I did, and actually on that note, I went out and talked to him this morning and I got a new sheet. So, with what we're gonna get, the price actually went down to $164,289.16. So it actually came down, 10,000 from what the quote that we had in the board packet. So what do we get? We get an excavator that we can save money on. We get a standard 36-inch trenching bucket with a thumb. Plus, we also get the 60-inch grading bucket. It's a 5-foot wide bucket where we could do ditch clean out and more of our work that we could do maintenance-wise at the landfill or ditch work. So with that being said, it's our recommendation to have the board support this request. And I believe Larry stated that there's enough money in our Capital 55 that we can incorporate this into our whole system of capital and purchases.
That is correct, Mr. Chair. There is money in there. We also looked at other things we purchased this year, eliminate some stuff, and some stuff came under, some we didn't do. So with that money, this will not have an impact on the levy.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yeah, so with getting this one, is this typically the size of backhoe that the contractors use when you hire this type of work done?
So what we did is, and Jason Vetra probably,
Yep.
but so him and we work with him a lot. And so Todd Miller asked, like, he goes, that's the first one off the lot. He talked to Crow River Construction. He said when the guys go and they're going to do a medium-sized job, that's the first one off the lot. Okay. Nothing against the other ones. In fact, it's a little bit maybe because we a lot of people use cat and deer and all these.
Yep.
But the reason for just the kind of the everyday user, it's got the same controls as our skids. And so it's you go from one to the other and it's the same system of controls. And they've been, all our research is they said this is a bulletproof machine, especially for what you guys do.
Okay, but it's adequate size.
Yeah, yep, that was the other thing. It can lift, I think, in a little over like 20 to 24,000, like 12 ton, So, it's one of those things, I asked the same questions, like, we don't want this great, big, massive machine, and we don't want something so small you could do it with a teaspoon. So it's like, where do you get the everyday use? And so talking to the guys we work with, this is like your everyday use. Throw it on the low and go. I mean, it's not so large that not everybody can run it.
Yeah.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mel, I'm not particularly mechanical, but I would assume that a tracked vehicle can go places that the current rubber-tired vehicle cannot, correct?
For sure, yes.
Okay.
You can do centerline work. Yep.
Okay. And the disposition of that older machine, you're going to keep it around, or?
We don't have one.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Did I read that incorrectly?
rent. So the problem that we run into is we have the staff capability to do this work. So
Our 580 case, did I read that wrong?
That are tired, rubber tired, apparently we have a backhoe.
we have a small backhoe, a rubber tire, yep.
Yep, okay. So that's the one I was asking about.
Mr. Embeck, did you have a comment?
Yeah, the comment was that with a tracked, Commissioner Gardner, with a tracked rig like that, you can just get that much more stuck when you get it stuck.
Well, there's
But,
that.
on a serious note, would that handle a long arm if you had to do some ditch work or?
Yeah,
or pods?
yep. You know, and
And that's not included?
it's not correct, it's not included. And it's not, you know, I'll admit, there's still gonna be things we'll probably have to
Right.
hire out. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things that our staff, I think they just kind of cringe. It's like, you know, we used to do this, you know, in a previous life, or we know how to run this stuff. It's, you know, so you rent it like, we're gonna do our underground tank removal, $7,000 just to rent the backhoe that we would use for this.
And I just ran across I think one of our colleagues somewhere in Minnesota is using a beaver dam removal device that I think hooks onto something like this, where they can clear a beaver dam out of a culvert in a matter of minutes versus days worth of work with several people. So
Yeah, this does have the thumb for doing beaver dam removal.
yeah, this was some sort of a rotor kind of a thing. But anyway,
So
I'd move that we accept this purchase or approve this purchase.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Endak, a second by Commissioner Nissen. Any further questions or comments?
Just a slam dunk to me, I think.
It certainly does sound that way. It's actually going to probably, where we're talking, it's going to be saving money for the property tax people, for our citizens that we represent. So appreciate you bringing this forward. An excellent idea. I did have one question though, and I'm just assuming you have all the stuff you need right now as far as to be able to do it, like big trailers and stuff like that.
Yeah, we do. We have a lowboy that we haul our dozers on, and this would require the lowboy, but that's pretty routine.
Okay,
Yeah, we use it all the time. Yep.
all right.
Okay, my
Commissioner
question-
Anderson.
So my other question would be then, I know of at least one guy that can run that, or that works for the county.
Yeah.
And how many offhand
looking for
are
a job?
qualified? No, I'm just curious, how many do you have that are, you think offhand, do you have a number of how many people can?
Oh,
actually
yeah,
run it?
I know, I don't like to be selective on how many people can run it, but I would say a minimum, yeah, we have plenty of guys, that, we have people that have run it in the past, people that, and then the other thing, it's training opportunities for people that perhaps don't run it as well, because it is nice to have all the plan, the succession.
Yep.
People that can run it, but we've got staff that can, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All right, no more questions, comments, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, pass unanimously. Thank you. At this point, I'd like to get, I also skipped over to the wrong Odens. I see. I'd like to call on Mr. Tom Odens, Candy County Chief Deputy Auditor Treasurer.
Good morning,
Good morning,
Mr. Chair
Tom.
and members of the board. I'm here today with another tax forfeited parcel of land that I'm requesting that we sell. It's resolution number 2022-36. This one is in the city of Pennock. They have, it's a little bit of backstory on this one. This land did sell in 2018. Then it came earlier this year, it was sold on contract for deed. The buyer did default on the contract. I came before the board requesting cancellation of that. So now we've kind of arrived, that contract is canceled, it's back in the state of Minnesota's name. We have gotten a letter from the city of Pennock requesting to purchase the property for $1. This house is old, it was built in the early 1900s, and they would like to classify this property as a blighted property. They plan on removing the property, either a test burn or knocking it in somehow. And then ultimately, they would like to get it back on the tax rolls. So that's why they would like to buy it for less than market value to remove a blighted house and then ultimately return it back to the tax rolls. I do have a map here. It's on the north side of Highway 12. It's actually 409 Atlantic Avenue in Pennock.
I got it up there, Tom.
So here's Highway 12 kind of running west-northwest here. This blue property on the right. And then I've got a little bit more of a zoomed in view of the property so that you can see the house right here in the driveway leading up to it. So the request would be to sell the property to the city of Pennock for $1 from the tax forfeited land.
Administrator Kleindall.
By selling it to the city of Pennock for $1, they have to take on the expenses of removing and cleaning it up. I think this is a very, very fair deal. If they didn't clean it up, we would be doing it.
Very good. Any further questions? Otherwise, entertain a motion.
I'll move that we grant that proposal.
A motion by Commissioner Nissen, a
I'll
second by
second
Commissioner Anderson. Any further discussion or comments? And this is not uncommon procedures to go this route for $1. And I see that everything was copied to Attorney Baker as well. So no further questions or comments? I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you very much for bringing that forward. At this point, I would like to call on Administrator Kleindahl.
Be right there, just gotta get there.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, my name is Larry Kleinow, County Administrator. It's my honor today to ask for reappointment of Veteran Service Officer Tricia Appledorn and oath of office to appointment of Assistant Veteran Service Officer Annabeth Black. And they both work in our Veteran Services offices. Every 4 years, they need to be reappointed. This will be Annabeth's first appointment. She has been certified now in the Veteran Service area and is now eligible to be appointed. It's an option for the board to appoint the assistant or not, and I am requesting that she would be appointed. This way, if ever something ever happened to our primary Veteran Service officer, we have a person that can fulfill those office duties. And so it says on behalf of the Canada County Commissioner, Larry Kleiner recommends reappointment of Tricia Appledorn as Veteran Service Officer for Canada County Commissioners, July 5th, 2022 through July 4th, 2026. And same thing goes for Annabeth Black, same dates, and I'm recommending the appointments. If the board chooses to do that, then I would have Mr. Odens come up and issue the oath of office to them.
Okay, and this is every 4 years process, either the board appoints a new one or reappoints the existing.
Correct. If the board were going to not reappoint 90 days prior to the appointment day, you would have to have cause to and show in writing why you would not reappoint.
Okay, Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will move the recommendation of the administrator.
A motion by Commissioner Gardner, and the chair will second that. Any further questions or comments?
Administrator and assistant administrator, or do we do each one?
We're doing
Can we do them
separate
both
or-
together?
No, I'm
Yes.
just moving Larry's recommendation to us.
Yep. Okay. We've got a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
So
Please
if you would
proceed.
come on up, and we'll have Tom administer the oath. Mike.
I'm sorry? Right here.
All right, please raise your right hand and then repeat after me. I, and state your name,
I, Tricia Appledorn,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
and I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties
Discharge the duties
of the office Veteran Service Officer or Assistant Veteran Service Officer
of the office of the Veteran Service Officer
of the County of Candy, Ohio,
of the County of Candy, Ohio,
to which I have been appointed
to which I have been appointed
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. You guys want to say anything?
No, I'm really grateful to have Annabeth on and have her Assistant Veteran Service Officer. It's really been a great addition to our office, so things are going really good.
Yeah, I love our office. I'm sorry I kind of messed up. But I tried.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Congratulations from the board, and we're very proud of our Veteran Service Department. And also, was it last year you had an open house? No, this spring, wasn't it?
It was
Down-
the spring.
Yeah, downstairs. An excellent job on that. So
Yep.
serving the veterans well, and we appreciate what you're doing very much. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kleindahl. Administrator Kleindahl, would you go next on the equipment advance for the rescue squad?
Sure. Mr. Chair, as you heard when Mr. Odens was up here, I should say Mel Odens because his son was also here.
Yeah.
But about the equipment. And so what I want to present to you today is advance for equipment for a rescue squad. We did have money in the budget for a rescue squad boat. And you may look at it and wonder why the price is so low on the boat. Well, as a government office, we get special rates for equipment. And so these are state contracted rates. And so the boat that I have in your packet, let me put it up here on the. Overhead. Currently, the rescue squad does not have a boat. The boat that they had is now is being used by the sheriff's office. They're spreading the boats and leaving them in parts of the county so they're not rushing with boats in the back of their pickups when they're driving the lakes to lake. And so by doing that, we no longer have a usable boat for the rescue squad. And thank goodness this year we've had safe waters. But as you know, last year we had a couple fatalities and we had to do searches. And when you need a boat, you can't be looking for it. We do have an old red dive boat that we use that picks up cement buoys, and there's no benches in there, it leaks. So for $15,000 more than what we have budgeted, we can go ahead and go forward and purchase this boat. As I stated, we have $20,000 in the budget already, and I'm asking for to use another $15,000 to authorize this purchase.
Questions or comments from anybody?
Yeah, Mike, oh, sorry.
Commissioner Nissen?
This is an aside from this, but did we fix up the
Hovercraft?
hovercraft?
Still working on the process. It's very detailed because of all the electronics. And again, getting parts that we need to get parts for.
And we need both anyway.
Yeah, two different equipment.
No,
I did ask Director Stephanie Felt about, what would happen? Could we get by without it? And she said we can, but if there's an emergency, as long as it's not you in the water, it's probably, not that important. But if you got somebody in the water looking to be saved or find somebody, it's an important tactic. And this year for 15,000, we don't get these boats every year. These boats like this probably last 20 years or more.
So
Administrator,
my
or Commissioner
question-
Anderson, yes.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. My question or comment then would be also if you have a few more boats, you might be able to spend a little more time cleaning off the aquatic invasive species. And I sit on that task force, and I know that's a big concern of theirs. So it's just, I think it's a good deal to do, and I think it'll be a nice fit. So.
Administrator Kleindahl, and that includes the trailer and all the expenses.
That is correct.
And you're sure we can't buy off the same bid, huh?
You and I
That was a
cannot.
good bargain. It really is. Well, I would entertain a motion at this point.
I'll make them.
A motion by Commissioner Nissen.
I'll second that.
And a second by Commissioner Anderson. Any other comments? I'm really proud of our board and the county that our emergency management people, that we do provide good equipment for them. And I think this is staying consistent with our belief in the rescue squad. When they need something like this, it's not only for saving other people's lives, but their safety as well. So we have a motion and a second, and I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you very much for bringing that forward. Now I'd like to call on Kathy Nelson with the Kansas County Health and Human Services Department. And you got some interesting stuff for us this morning, I understand.
Yes, I do. Well,
Good
good
morning.
morning. I am acting on behalf of Jenny Lippert during her leave. And what I'm bringing before you today is a request for permission to go ahead with mediation regarding the Children and Families procurement process. DHS has made a decision. As you're aware, a proclamation was signed by this board on June 7th, supporting Prime West to be the sole plan for Kandiwai County. DHS did not support that in their findings. And now by Friday, basically, we have to submit our intent for mediation if that's what the board would choose for us to do. So that is what I'm here for today, is to ask for permission to go ahead and send a letter in requesting mediation for this.
We've been expecting you to come forward with something like this just recently. Commissioner Nissen.
I will move that we immediately take steps to request mediation.
Motion by Commissioner Nissen,
I'll second that.
And second by Commissioner Emdak. Any further questions or comments from anybody? Commissioner Emdak?
So I imagine in the meantime, we have to go ahead and sign on with one of the other providers, right?
In the meantime, we're still okay because this is for next year.
This is for next year.
Yes, 2023. So we just keep doing as we're doing now. And then the hope is this all goes through very quickly because obviously we will have to contract with whatever entities turn out to be our assignments by the end of the year.
I should point out that I got an email from Mr. Priscilla of Prime West asking us to do this because of the importance of getting right on this. There is a lawsuit still, a decision still pending on whether they can even do what they're doing because there is a statute that the legislature passed allowing counties to be the only provider through Prime West or some other entity like that. And so hopefully we'll do the mediation, but hopefully the lawsuit will go our way and eliminate this kind of foolishness in the future.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is very consistent with what, since we're in the lawsuit on a very similar issue, that this is important to follow through it entirely. Commissioner Emdak, you have a question?
Thank you,
Or
Mr.
comment?
Chair. And either Commissioner Nissen or you, Kathy, may or may not be able to answer this question. Did all the parties at Prime West file a similar motion for a petition?
I haven't heard on this one.
All I know is that even the ones that have previously been able to, due to the statute, have only one provider, the Department of Health said, no, you're going to all have two. And so they're loading up their guns. And so does that answer your question?
Well, I'm wondering if they are doing a similar petition.
Oh, yeah.
All these counties.
I assume they are because if they don't,
Not that it makes a difference to my decision, but.
no,
Yeah.
it'll make a difference to the health of Prime West as a going concern. Because if they have to split those clients, it'll be devastating to Prime West and to the counties involved in Prime West. And we're ladies in waiting there, but hopefully we can get this all settled so we can all become a member of Prime West.
Well, if I could make one point, I've been part of this procurement process several times now. And the counties that are served under Prime West, their people, their citizens have better. And so that's what we've seen. And that's why we would support Prime West is because we think it would be better for the people who live in Candiwai County. More money tends to come back to them and it allows some more flexible use of the dollars that makes sense for our county individually. So I would say that is the most important reason if this can all go through.
The value in local control, that we know the needs of the citizens a lot better than somebody in some building down in St. Paul. Administrator Kleindall.
I would recommend to the citizens who are watching us that want to know about procurement, Ralph for the Lakes Area Review did an excellent article a couple weeks ago with the full detail about the whole procurement process. And it really gives you a great background of that. And so I would recommend, if you'd like to see it in writing, go to their paper and look at his article. That was very well done.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Thank you very much for bringing this forward and answering our questions.
Thank you, Kathy.
Have a good day, Kathy. Now I'd like to call on Tammy Jo Lieberg, Candiwai County Community Corrections Director. Good morning, Tammy Jo.
Good morning, Tammy
Good
Jo.
morning. I am here this morning with a proclamation on Probation and Parole Officer Week coming up on July 17th through the 23rd. So I have a proclamation, and just a little bit of information. So supervision of justice-involved individuals is a critical component of public safety in our community. And addressing criminal behavior does not stop at the point of arrest. Often it isn't just even when they're in the jails and our prisons. KCC, Candy Ohio Community Corrections, professionals address public safety through supervision and rehabilitation of individuals involved in the justice system. Probation officers start with bail studies before a first appearance and follow individuals through pretrial supervision, pre-sentence investigations, probation supervision, and if necessary, supervised release, which is what we call parole in the state of Minnesota. Probation officers assess risk and needs of offenders and target the criminogenic needs to reduce recidivism. Candy Ohio Community Corrections will celebrate pretrial probation and parole supervision week on July 17th through the 23rd. The theme appointed by the American Parole and Probation Association is Restoring Trust and Creating Hope. So I can read the proclamation if that's okay. Okay, so whereas community corrections is an essential part of the justice system, whereas probation officers and community corrections professionals uphold the law with dignity while recognizing the right of the public to be safeguarded from criminal activity, whereas probation officers and community corrections professionals are responsible for supervising adult and juvenile offenders in the community, whereas probation officers and community corrections professionals work in partnership with community agencies and groups, whereas probation officers and community corrections professionals promote prevention, intervention, and advocacy, probation officers and community corrections professionals provide services, support, and protection for victims, whereas probation officers and community corrections professionals advocate community and restorative justice, whereas probation officers and community corrections professionals are a true force for positive change in their communities. Now, therefore, it resolved that the Candy Ohio County Board does hereby proclaim July 17th through the 23rd, 2022 as pretrial probation and parole supervision week, encourages all citizens to honor these probation officers and community corrections professionals and to recognize their achievements. Signed this day, July 5th.
Okay.
And I did get a few to come join us. It is the day after a holiday, and we had an enormous amount of people arrested over the weekend, so everybody's pretty busy.
Seen the paper, busy.
Okay. Well, I think there's probably 5 county commissioners here that all want to make the motion. But on behalf of all of us, would you please make the motion, Commissioner Gardner?
Well, I will, Mr. Chair, in just a moment, but the now therefore, and Mr. Oden's just pointed this out, needs to be changed to the July 17th to the 23rd. It does say July 19th to the 25th. Those of us on this end of the table who are proofreaders at heart appreciate the catch. And with that change, I would move the move the proclamation.
Thank you for the motion with the changes, Commissioner Gardner, and we're very thankful we have people on our board like that. Is there a second? Commissioner Mdek.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Mdek seconds it. Any further questions or comments, anybody? Other than, I'm glad we had a chance to vote on this and that you brought this forward. I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously.
Thank you.
And thank you, and thank you for you and your staff.
Thank
for
you.
all the wonderful things you do. You really do.
Appreciate it.
And it's not easy work. So, appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
You bet. Bye. And now I'd like to call on Candy Ohio County Sheriff, Mr. Holeen. Good morning. You have a couple items, I understand.
Good morning. Yes, got 2 items. First one that we'll address is a grant that we received from the Minnesota Department of Health. What this grant covers is for the risk mitigation and the curbing of COVID-19 within the Candy Ohio County Jail. Just so you understand what it allows us to do is some of the testing or continue the testing of the inmates as they're coming and going to and from our facility. So the total dollar amount that we ended up getting to continue this testing, I've got to make sure I tell you the right number here. So
33,000.
yeah, 33, where was it now? Just had it. $33,790.01. So that's, and it can be used for also other projects within the jail to help curbing the transmission and stuff like that as well. So if there's any questions, I'll yield to you at this time.
Commissioners, any questions, comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Also move.
A motion by Commissioner Gardner.
I'll second. Oh, go ahead. Dwayne.
A second by Commissioner Anderson. Any further questions or comments? Other than to have money to come in that we can provide some better services, it's always a good deal. Yes, we appreciate this very much. We have a motion and a second, and no further questions or comments. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Now, on the next item, the SCAAP grant.
Yes, so the SCAP grant was what it's often referred to. What it allows us to do on a local level, and it's states funds for illegal immigrants that are arrested during the arresting process, i.e. they committed a crime here in the state of Minnesota and were arrested. They are not necessarily part of the federal system yet. They have not done any form of deportation processing on them. So it allows us to have financial assistance while we are maintaining them in our criminal justice system at that time. So that total dollar amount was $11,135, and we're just looking for board approval to receive those funds to do that as well.
And if we didn't receive those funds, that would go back on the property tax budget.
That is
property
correct.
tax dollars.
And this is an annual dollar amount that we get, and it just varies each year as to what you receive.
Okay.
So move, Mr. Chair.
A motion by Commissioner Emdek, a second by
Second.
Commissioner Nissen. Any further questions or comments? There is another one. Thank you for bringing it forward. Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sheriff Helene, this is for costs associated with the incarceration of undocumented
That is correct.
immigrants, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. As opposed to illegal immigrants.
That is correct.
I think it's a distinction with a profound difference, and I just hope that we can use that terminology moving forward. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. I've got a call for the vote, right? Pretty soon. Okay. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you. Would you want me to sign this now? Would that work out? Oh, sign it later. Okay, it'll be a lot easier. I appreciate that. At this point, then, we're down to the end of the agenda and administrative updates. Mr. Kleindahl.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll do it right from here. Working on the county budget right now, as you can tell with some of the things I brought forth today on the, trying to figure out, where some items where we need to cut and what areas we need to go on. What is really impactful to Kansas County is that legislation was not completed. If the tax bill would have been passed, Kansas County would have received approximately another $400,000 in county program aid, which is over 1% of the levy that we would take 100% of the dollars per dollar to take off the levy. And so it doesn't look good that would happen, but if we could, that tax bill is so important to Kansas County and the other local government aids that as I'm doing the budget, I'm thinking that would sure help the citizens of Kansas County right now, because when we do the levy, we put that 100% back to the people. We don't use it for anything else. So,
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Well, Mr. Chair, I would comment that it's not
About
just
that
the tax
subject.
bill, it's the bonding bill, it's the transportation bill, it's all the unfinished work of the legislature that is costing counties in the state of Minnesota dollars. Just as an example, is the transportation bill not being passed is costing us $750 million of federal funds that we won't qualify as a result. So there's a lot of strings attached to the legislature not getting their work done.
Okay. All right.
So that's my primary areas I'm working on right now. This is the time of the year that I stick my head in the books and I call on you and say where things are at, and I work with the department heads, and the department head's been really good about it. And so we're just dealing with things. So that's what my report.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, any appointments or calendar information you'd like to have? Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There is one appointment. We didn't talk about this ahead, but I'll take care of it if it's okay. I covered the invasive species committee meeting for Commissioner Anderson, and at that meeting, the task force voted to submit the name of Brian Hedloff as an at-large member of that task force, replacing, come on, where are you? Gary Lagerstedt. And I would move this for approval.
Okay, and a second
I'll second
from
that.
Commissioner Anderson. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote for the approval of the appointment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you.
Steve, can you get that name to Karen?
I will.
Okay, thank you.
Good. At this point, then, we'll move forward with any comments, updates you want to give on any committees that you attended that would be of interest to the board as well as the public. And I'd like to start with Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It was a rather busy week or week plus leading up to the holiday weekend. Sat on the EDC Business Support Subcommittee. One of the primary tasks there revolves around childcare. It was announced that there's a $30,000 committed by the First Children's Finance Agency for a project, and I don't have details on that, but that will be going to a local project. Met with the CVB board, attended the Summit Carbon meeting. Vision 2040 Housing Subcommittee met and had some good discussion around some potential housing options, ways to move forward, and funding being requested possibly through our ARPA funding. West Central Industries Board met via Zoom. Sat on a meeting with the Wilmer Main Street Board, have an event coming up mid-month, Dine Out Downtown, and I believe that's on the 17th. Commissioner Berg and I attended the Elevate banquet again. That's a program through the EDC to help emerging entrepreneurs with all sorts of job training, everything soup to nuts, everything you need to know about running a business and running it successfully. Like I say, this year there were 8 graduates. That's a total of 20 now that have come through that program. And they've received some funding from SWIFT for this, and I believe there was one other entity possibly. And so this will be ongoing for the future, and they've received some dollars also to take some of the class material and get that translated into Somali now. So now they'll have a trilingual programming for that. Candia County HRA Board met in a special session to approve its budget for 22-23, and that'll be eventually coming forward to the commissioners. Housing Task Force, excuse me, that's. No, okay, that's just 2 different things that I've got in the wrong spot. I had a long list this time around.
Well, keep going. Well, there was a housing task force, and I think the board is aware of it, that Commissioner Gardner and myself are on the City of Wilmer Housing Task Force, and that's something that the county will be addressing as well.
And that will be, that'll start moving a little more rapidly now that we've gotten through some of the preliminaries. And like I say, covered AIS for Commissioner Anderson, and I believe that's about it.
Very, very busy time. Commissioner Nissen.
Well, I also was at the Summit Carbon presentation, very interesting stuff, and I think almost everybody sitting here was there.
Yep.
But
And they'll be coming to board the next board meeting.
okay, Mid-Minnesota Development Commission had their annual meeting over at the I keep forgetting what they call the state hospital grounds now, Midwest campus. And fairly routine, reviewed their activities for the year, and I had a lunch or supper afterwards. I chaired the Southwest Minnesota Area Transportation Partnership, ATP. Again, fairly routine. There was just only a couple of minor changes to their plans for the coming year. Mel was there too, so if I miss anything, but it was again routine. We had one of the legislators who always seems to pipe in, and I can't remember his name either, but yeah. But he comes to all of those, and he usually tells us what's going on, and he kind of apologized for the failure to get that transportation money through. But he's only one guy out of I don't know how many. And then I'm also on the Mid-Minnesota Rural Transportation Coordinating Committee, and they're continuing to move forward to. They're doing some good work providing information for volunteer drivers to training, and getting more people to do the volunteer driving for things like the veterans and others who have to get to St. Cloud for medical or even just around town. CPT, that's County Providing Technology. We had a fairly active month there. We had 2 meetings to discuss our pay schedule because of the difficulty to hire people that everybody's experiencing. We rearranged that whole schedule so we could add 2 layers at the top, and we removed the bottom 2 layers so we could start people a little higher, and we gave them a little more money for their medical. And we did hire an executive director, and he's actually was the executive director of Supporting Hands, another multi-county operation. So I think Burns is his last name. Joel Burns, maybe. It's not important. We have a team in place now, and since we had a 2-person executive team before, Mike and Gwen. Mike is still with us. Gwen quit to go. We got Superior Steel keeps stealing our employees, so that's another issue. But I guess he came through very well on the interview, and so we have that all accomplished. We have a meeting with the Lake Andrew Township on a Northwest broadband progress or lack thereof. We visited about what we can do, and again, we're not going to get anything done this summer, tragically. Very frustrating. And then I personally, I know some of the rest of you met with Liz from David Drown. Her and I discussed over the phone some of the same things that you must have, and that's all I did.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Anderson.
Okay, yeah, so some weeks I have very few meetings and some weeks I have a lot. So when we met we had our last county board meeting was the 21st of June. That day I ended up with 5 meetings. One was dealing with County Park number 2. We're just looking at ways to what we can do with a bathhouse, if we're going to remodel or if we're going to start new or if we're going to just not do anything, what we're going to do. We looked at everything, and so with the situations that that are going on there right now. It's, you know, the cost of a bathhouse is expensive, and then what we can do and what we can't do with our finances is kind of the sticking point, and also I don't know. There's a lot of issues going on there, so we're trying to work through that. I also met with Mel Odens at county or at the Public Works Department about County Road number 119. We discussed compensation for landowners there. And then, we did our ARPA workshop that day, and then we also had our Board of Equalization that night. The next day I had a South Fork Crow River Watershed Kickoff. It was in at the McLeod County Fairgrounds in Hutchinson, and that was where the different entities basically kind of introduced themselves, and then people that attended, they could kind of take stickers and put down their priorities or put a sticker next to the priorities that they think are most important to the South Fork Crow River Watershed. One Watershed, One Plan Kickoff. And that was the reason why I missed my AIS task force meeting that night, because I couldn't be in Spicer and Hutchinson at the same time. It just wouldn't work out. And then the next day I had, that was on the 23rd of June, I had a UCAP meeting, and that was in Wilmer. And then after our meeting, it was pretty much a routine meeting. After the meeting, then we had kind of a tour of the facilities that are in Wilmer, the Northern Lights kind of daycare center, or whatever you call it, the former Candio High Power Co-op building. And they showed that off again. They're basically full, and now they're looking to, they got a couple spaces in the building that they can maybe expand or do different things with that. And then we toured the downtown facility across from the county office building in Wilmer here, and that was very interesting. I mean, they even showed us the basement, so they very open and very proud of what they do and what they have, and so that was interesting. I like going to those meetings because of COVID. The first year I was shut down. You kind of had to guess what people do or where they are and stuff. But now that everything is opened up again, we can meet and kind of get tours of different facilities and see what's all going on and what the different departments do and all these different entities that are associated with government. On the 24th, we went to that Carbon Credit Solutions meeting, and that was an eye opener. I mean, as a farmer, I had my impression of perception of what it was, and when I went there, it was like, oh, this is a lot different than what I thought it would be. So that was very interesting and gave me a lot to think about. Let's see. Then on the 27th, I met with Lisa with David Drown Associates there for the administrator search. And at first I was nervous, are they going to do a good job or not? But after meeting with her, I think they'll do a very thorough and good job. They want to hear my thoughts on who they should hire or who we should hire and how to look for the next administrator. And I just thought it was well thought out. They asked me questions I never thought I'd be thinking about. So that was a really good meeting with her. And then on the 29th, I had the Central Community Transit meeting with Commissioner Berg down in Olivia at the Olivia Golf Club. And we're looking at applying for another grant for a new building possibly. The existing grant that we have is just not big enough, and we found out that we have to apply for another grant. This one, I think, expires in about a year or so, and it's just not adequate. And so we're going to have to redo that grant and ask for more money. It sounds like the DOT is on board, and hopefully we'll get the grant money. And that's basically all my meetings. So.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Endek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to do it in chronological order as well. So I'll go back to June 22nd. I attended the Transportation Alliance meeting in Shakopee. It was the purpose of the meeting was to explain the IIJA Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and the grant opportunities that are within that within that act or that law. Even though it was sponsored by the Transportation Alliance, there was a lot of other things that we became aware of that were are opportunistic, including grants for like wastewater treatment and even parks and trails. And there, we had 3 staff people from Senator Klobuchar's office, Representative Stauber's office, and Representative Phillips' office, who assured us that as we apply for these things, they have resources available for helping us get through the system, through the process. And I think what was really valuable is I don't know if there was 5 counties represented at that meeting. There was, I don't know, 100 people there, something like that. And so I think there's going to be some, I think that puts us a step ahead to have been there and to understand what this process is and where the support is for it. So hopefully some of that can come to fruition over the next couple of years. Then on the 24th, I attended a business retention, expansion, and recruitment meeting. I've been on that committee since before I was a commissioner, and the bulk of the conversation was about childcare in the region. And like you, I met with Liza Donabauer from David Drown Associates. On the 27th, also, you had the Glacial Lake Sanitary Sewer and Water District meeting, and spent quite a bit of time talking about occasionally we have leaks in that system. And we've got a water leak. A few years ago, we had one that took us months to find it. And when they finally found it, the problem is sometimes those leaks, the water doesn't bubble up. It might make it over to the lake without bubbling up. And so it's really difficult to find. This one's been ongoing at Spicer for about, I don't know, 6 months or more.
18 months.
18 months, and it's very costly. So we really want to find out where that leak is. On the 29th, I serve on the New London Economic Development Authority. I neither live in New London nor I have a business in New London, but they've asked me to serve on that. And it's probably a good spot to be in because a big part of their effort right now is we call it the Peterson Parkway area. It's the area out by Bethesda and ACMC, and the family that owns a bunch of property out there looking to do a development plan for back there. And Mr. Odens was able to attend the meeting and explain the county's impact to that region, both with the sewer and water and the road. So we had someone from an architecture firm that does those kind of things that was there to answer questions for us. So that was a pretty good meeting. And I think it illustrates too, as we talk about our ARP dollars and using some of those dollars for grant writers and helping navigate some of the grants that are out there, how we have to keep in mind the smaller communities that don't have staff people to do those kind of things. And so I think there's a partnership that can be had with the smaller communities in the county. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Emdek. I guess I can say ditto to a lot of these things. Commissioner Anderson, you left me a little bit more I could say maybe about the community transit system that we have and the board meeting and talking about that. The bids, the grant we got approved for was $3.2 million, I believe, roughly. And as things go, you nowadays you can't build anything for that kind of money, especially for a big bus garage like we're talking about needing. But the state implied that, please reapply again, and they're going to seriously consider us for a bigger grant to proceed with that, possibly around $6+ million, not much over that. But that's, nothing concrete about that, just more talk. Unfortunately, this grant wouldn't be approved for a while yet, and then by the time you get around to it, it's like, ooh, is that going to be enough money with inflation? We've been trying to catch up and be able to build something we have not. But this definitely impacted the decision about the county recycling building. So Administrator Kleindahl can move ahead to dealing with what's the county look at in our options. So they are going to go that route instead of trying to make that work or remodel that. It just wouldn't work, they felt, for the money. It'd be so close to building new nowadays to remodel something like that. So that was a big thing there, as well as anybody who's listening, they really need part-time drivers and they also need volunteer drivers. And transportation things are getting really, really tough to find people to work. So we really need to get that done. I also attended the silent auction, and I was wondering, Administrator Kleindahl, could you just give us an update on how that went?
I think it went very well. I think we had some good bids. Everything came in the last 30 minutes, it seems like. That's how those silent bids usually go. But approximately made about $6,700.
Okay.
So it's a good.
That's a good.
I'm glad I won't be here the next time we do it. I think we do it once every 10 years or even longer than that. But
Okay.
I just want to thank the staff. They really did a lot of work. It was hot that day. It was windy that day. So, yeah.
Well, it still was a good deal in so many different aspects too. It's a good way to recycle things, a good way to get involved with the community, that they know, what's happening with our equipment and so forth, and they have a chance to recycle that, and a very good thing.
I think when they look at the stuff, they said, we got our use out of it. A lot of people say, why are you putting it out there? It looked like junk, but, one person's junk is another person's treasures, right?
Yeah, exactly. Garage sales is just like that, that's for sure. And it does show that we just don't spend money loosely and we use things to its fullest. Any other comments or questions at this point that people?
Mr. Chair, if I may, you reminded me of something that I missed. One of the revealing things at the transportation meeting that I went to was that many of the firms that we work with all the time, SRF, Bolton Mink, a lot of those firms have grant writers on staff that we can hire as needed, and then we can fire them when we're done with them. So that might be an opportunity for us to consider as we see what fits for us. And then related to transit, you brought up transit.
Mm-hmm.
The frustrating part about the transportation bill, as I understand it, is that transit is what held up and caused them to walk away from the table of a transportation bill. And would remind ourselves and our rural neighbors that transit funding includes rural transit. And Rainbow Riders and TriCap and Central Community Transit, we all depend on those funding from the transportation bill to fund those. And as I look across this board here, several of us are not very far away from someday needing the transit.
What does she mean?
What they offer. So it's important that, people understand the full impact of the transportation bill and transit and how it relates to rural transit.
Sure.
It wasn't that long ago, Dennis Peterson was sitting at this chair, and we didn't have CCT. We're trying to figure out a way to get buses, and of course, now we combine with other counties and cities to operate it, just because financially, that's what you need to do. But it wasn't that long ago, rural areas out here did not have public transportation.
Yeah, very lucky. That makes me think, just a reminder, the next work session on the opera dollars, that's the first meeting in August?
Trying, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
It was tentatively scheduled for August 2nd because of some of the developments. The child care group or the housing group may not be ready by the 2nd. We're going to do their darndest to be ready.
Okay.
We were going to try to have them present some options. But with some events that just have occurred in the community and stuff, it's slowing things down a little bit.
Okay.
Connie's husband passing and stuff, and so.
Could we still meet though?
Yep, we can try.
just-
But would you want the child care people, because that was the goal, to have them focus on, and the housing.
Sure.
And so that's what if they can be prepared, that would be great.
Oh, it'd be, yes, and we would not making decisions without probably hearing from them, that's for sure. But since there are other options and other things needed, along that same line too, well, we can talk later about that. So, no, any further questions or comments from anybody? Commissioner Gardner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do want to take note of a couple of passings that our community has experienced recently. Tony Schmall, husband of Connie, who we've all worked with in the past, lost his life in an accident last week. His funeral is on Thursday, excuse me. And that is an incredible loss to the community and to his family. And I know that we want to express our sympathy to the family and Connie in particular. The other passing that of note here, and see if I can get back to it or not. Local journalist Bev Alquist, who served all of our communities for years, recently passed, and I was trying to get back to the article, but I believe that is her funeral is going to be on, I want to say, Saturday.
The 11th. I believe it's the 11th.
That's Monday.
Trying to get to that. Bev worked for the Tribune, worked also for the Lakes Area Review, worked for KDJS and the Kirkhoven Banner, and she was always a delight to work with, and she will certainly be missed. That's what I have.
She's worked with the board here in the past as well, quite a bit.
I thought I knew that, so.
If I may just add to that too, the viewing for Connie Small's husband is going to be Wednesday night or tomorrow night at Anderson Funeral Home from 5 to 7. So if you can't make the funeral, it'd be a good option.
I just wanted to add one thing. When I am done here in December 31st, I will continue in public service with Mid-Minnesota Development Commission as a transportation. So I'll be on the ATP and the TAC through that organization. So I'm not completely done with the public service yet.
I figured you wouldn't be.
You're going to get me out of the house, otherwise.
Sure. And then I have a hunch there might be a few others might come up too. Who knows? Yeah.
Well, the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Hearing nothing more, at this point, I'll hereby close the Candioi County Board of Commissioners meeting.